أنا ربك فاخلعن عليك إنك بالوادي المقدس طوى وأنا اخترتك فاستمع لما يوحى صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل. For the hastening of the reappearance of our Imam, please recite a louder salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. As the nights of the Shahada of Amir al-Mu'mineen are approaching, for the extent of our love and devotion to Amir al-Mu'mineen, please recite the loudest of salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. These nights that we're in, these nights of Shahr Ramadan, this is the only one night remaining before we reach the nights of Qadr, are a precious barakah and blessing and opportunity that we have, that we don't know how long they'll last. We don't know how many times we'll have the same opportunity. And it's one of the things that are often repeated but needs to be repeated again and again, that every time and place that we're in is special and unique. The place that I'm in right now, the time that I find myself in right now, will never be repeated again. Even if I'm in the same place tomorrow, in the same location, it's a different tomorrow. It's a different time, it's a different opportunity. I shouldn't think to myself that I've gone over so many Shahr Ramadan, so many times I've gone through Laylatul Qadr and this is just another one, another time, another cycle, another turn. No. Every time is different and unique. And if I miss out on the opportunity that's before me in this Laylatul Qadr, it will never be repeated again. I might try to make up for it. For example, we have the Arba'een Musawi. It's said in our hadith that if you miss Laylatul Qadr, if you don't reach where you're trying to reach on Laylatul Qadr, then attempt to do so in the Arba'een Musawi. Right? But that's not the same thing. Think about it in this way. What if I took advantage of both of those times? What if I took advantage of Laylatul Qadr and that Arba'een as well? That's 40 days as well. It would be much better. I can't lose the opportunity that's in front of me. There's no guarantees. I have no guarantee that I'll be living to see tomorrow. I have no guarantee about the next moment. This is something we have to remind ourselves of. And it's something that sometimes we find difficult because of the amount of repetition that we have in our deen. It's nothing wrong. It's something that's a blessing that we have it. But because of human nature, because of how we are, sometimes repetition creates something different within us. Where instead of it becoming something that is inculcated, that the values have become adopted, have become a part of me, instead of that, I take it at the very bare minimum, the surface level of that ritualistic action, and that's the only thing that I see. Think about it in terms of prayer. How many times we pray? Alhamdulillah, we have the tawfiq of praying. Right? 5 times a day, inshallah. At least. For year upon year upon year, we're repeating the same thing. But how do we treat it? If I pray, do I even remember what I was thinking while I prayed? As soon as I exit my prayer, what's the first thing that I do? Sometimes I find, it's interesting, sometimes I find myself doing it. I find myself finishing praying, and next thing I know, my phone is in my hand. I don't even remember taking it out of my pocket. I don't even remember picking it up, but the next thing is, the phone is in my hand, I'm scrolling through my phone, checking through my messages. What kind of prayer was that? What kind of prayer is that? Right? If we look at the attention we're paying to these things, we'll see sometimes it's a sorry state. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, we have to do great things to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that I at least have the bare minimums. I at least have that. That's something we need to acknowledge. Right? We shouldn't sink into depression and say all is bad. No, none of that. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't be self-critical. If you look at the dua that we have, the dua that we repeat. Look at dua iftitah, for example. The amount of critique that we do about ourselves is extreme. You rarely, if ever, find a dua that sounds like a pat on the back. That, oh yeah, I've done a good job. Why is that? It's because in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's no veils. There's no false masks. Everything I have is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's. It's by His tawfiq, His will that He gave me that I'm able to do anything good in the first place. And that good thing, by the way, doesn't even benefit Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it benefits me. So how can I pat myself on the back for doing something the prime beneficiary is myself? In front of the Master who owns everything that I have in the first place. No. The only thing that I have is to say I need to do more. No matter who I am. Rasulullah himself, it's narrated that he would do istighfar 70 times during the day. Doesn't mean that he was doing a sin. But it means that the path towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is infinite. And no matter who you are, even Rasulullah himself has a path. Has something that he's striving for. So who am I? If I'm the follower of the Ahlul Bayt, if I'm the follower of the path of Rasulullah, then I should be expending the efforts, the same efforts, more effort. Now, the only time we actually take advantage of opportunities when we recognize the worth of that opportunity and the preciousness of that opportunity that we have before us. If I don't recognize it, if I'm not really aware of how much of an opportunity is in front of me, then obviously I won't really put much attention to it. I wouldn't put much effort at all. It's something that we recognize in all of our walks of life, right? If you don't know, for example, right, you're in some sort of business and I don't know, the CEO of this great tech company is, sitting next to you and eating lunch, and you had the opportunity to network with that CEO, but you didn't know who it was. Now, obviously, you're not going to spend much effort talking to them or networking. The opportunity is missed because of lack of awareness. And that's the same thing with us. The opportunities that we have, most of the time we miss them because of lack of awareness. Or we think to ourselves, it's okay, not this year, next year. Not next year, the year after. But again, as we mentioned in the beginning, we can't bank on that. I can't trust that. I have no guarantees. Who knows what kind of mind process I'll be in. We have story upon story that shows the pitfalls of thinking in this manner. For example, the brothers of Hazrat Yusuf, right? They put him in the well saying that, okay, we'll do something bad right now, we'll do tawbah afterwards, we'll make up for it. Who knows how many decades they had to spend. And who knows if at the end of the day, if they actually did a tawbah that was accepted. It's not something that we can sort of game the system. We can't have our cake and eat it too. There's no way of doing it. In front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's no tricks, there's no shortcuts. Every aspect of my life, every moment of my life is a test between me and my Lord. It's an opportunity between me and my Lord. Because test in this regard, sometimes we keep on repeating this world is a test, this world is a test, and I think, okay, I don't want to be tested. Why would I want to be tested? I don't like tests. That's not the point. The test isn't something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala benefits from. It's for me. I become better through the test. The test is an opportunity for me. We have an ayat in the Quran, for example, describing the mu'mineen. It says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وإذا تليت عليهم آياته زادتهم إيمانا. When the verses and signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are recited upon them, they increase in iman. You might say, okay, ayat means the verses of the Quran. No. Ayat means signs. Every sign of Allah. What are the signs of Allah? Is there anything that you can look at and say is not a sign of Allah? There's nothing. Not a single thing you can point out that is not a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not a single thing. From shaitan to Rasulullah, there's nothing. Nothing you can point out that isn't a sign of Allah. Everything is a sign of Allah. What that means is that if I'm paying attention, there's an infinite amount of opportunity for me in every moment to increase my iman. The lack of my progress is just limited by my lack of awareness. How mindful I am of seeing the reality of things. How mindful I am of seeing everything as a link between me and my Lord. That's what limits me. It's that perspective that changes everything. If I were to compare my prayer with the prayer of Rasulullah, in terms of what actually is being said and done in that prayer, there's probably not that much of a difference. Right? In terms of what actually was said and done, in terms of the actions, the verses recited, the words said, there's not that much of a difference. Obviously, his would be perfect. Right? There is, obviously a difference, but not too much. But if you look at the reality of the prayer, there's no comparison at all. No comparison at all. You'd be ashamed even to call it the same thing. It's because the heart of that prayer, of that salat, of every action we do is why we do it. It's our intent. إِنَّمَا أَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. The actions, the heart of every action is the intent behind it. If I don't purify that and concentrate on that central aspect, then everything else crumbles. Everything else becomes just a facade that's hiding out the real reality that's within. Think about prayer again. If I look to how I pray, sometimes we can test ourselves with this. If we want to see the quality of my prayer, don't look at the length of it. Don't look at what surahs are recited. Don't look at these things. Look at the etiquettes of it. Right? How do I treat it? Do I treat it as something treasured or do I not? Do I treat it like that's the most important part of my day? Where I schedule my salat before I schedule anything else. The immovable part of my day is the salat. Everything else can be moved around it. Or no, is it the other way around? I'll fit in salat where I can. Last on the priority list. Okay, if it became qadha, it's okay, I'll do it later. Is that how I treat it? The etiquettes of it. Do I treat it as something treasured, valuable, an actual meeting between me and my Lord? I mean, just think about it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself is saying that, look, I'm the master of everything. I have everything in my hands. Everything that you could ever want, everything that you are seeking and trying to gain is in my hands. If you want it, come to me and I'll answer you. Ad'uni astajib lakum. If you call to me, I'll answer you. And guess what? There's 5 times a day I'm saying specially. These are prime times to talk to me. I'm listening. Now say, no thanks, I'll talk to you later. That's what I'm doing. When I'm delaying salat, that's what I'm doing. I'm saying, how could I do it? It only happens if I'm not thinking about what I'm actually doing. If I'm concentrating on something completely else. This kind of lack of awareness that we have is something to be frightened about. Because there's no reins with that. I have no control over where that will lead me to. Right now I might have moments of wakefulness, moments of awareness. And we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. But there's no guarantee that it'll continue. The heart hardens over time. To the point we have in the Quran that sometimes some people's hearts are harder than stone. Stone at least, the water can wear it down after time. But some people's hearts are harder than that. Ashaddu qaswa. They're harder, more. They don't even soften at all. We should be frightened of that. Right? And again, we have examples of this happening to people who are praying and fasting. It's not about the people who are not just praying. Right? Think about the Khawarij. Right? Huffaz of Quran, they memorize the Quran, praying day and night. They have marks on their forehead from how much they were doing sajda. But still, the amount of, ugly things that they did, unimaginable things that they did, in the name of deen. It happens when that heart of religion is not there, when it's just that form. Form is important. It's absolutely necessary. We're not one of those people who say that you can just be a good person, your heart be pure, and that's all that's important. No. In order for our heart to be pure, the form is important. Because it's an illogical thing that I want to be purely the servant of God, but I don't want to listen to God. That's illogical. It doesn't make sense. The form has to be there. But there's no doubt that the form is secondary to the heart of it. I have to build that relationship between me and my Lord. And these nights that we have in front of us, they're a unique opportunity. The nights of Qadr, where it's an opportunity where things are determined for the next year. Things are apportioned for the next year. Where we can almost say we have our destiny in our own hands, almost. But it's in our determination, how we take it. If I take it as something light, then who knows? Allah SWT is merciful. Merciful beyond my comprehension. Inshallah, He'll give me still, even though I've ignored the opportunity. But there's definitely a missed out opportunity. But sometimes we feel that what we really want, right? Sometimes there's these buzzwords that we have in our minds that we're seeking this thing. And because of how we conceive of those things, our expectations and our actions start to become strange. For example, one of the things that everyone likes to say is that we want spirituality, right? We want to become more spiritual. I'm not too much of a fan of this word. Right? Even if you look in our hadith, I don't think you can find many times that a word corresponding to this concept is really mentioned. Right? Where something called ma'nawiya or something like that is in our hadith. No, as far as I'm aware, I don't think there's much of that. The reason that I'm pointing it out is that sometimes the word has associations to other things. I build a picture of what I'm seeking without first checking whether or not there's something worthy to be sought in the first place. Spirituality, I think of it in terms of, there's this feeling of connection. There's a feeling of, I'm in this presence, a feeling that I'm, there's this light shining from the heavens that's on me, and I'm hearing the chorus of the angels in my ears, and something like that. Right? We have this kind of concept in our minds. And I'm not saying those are bad things. But who said that that was what we should be seeking? What did Allah SWT ask me to do? He told me to do my wajibat and avoid the haram. That is spirituality, if you want to call something, in a nutshell. And yes, I'll agree to this, that our understanding of ahkam is woefully incomplete. Woefully incomplete. We think that ahkam starts and ends with just the red lines. The reality of it is that akhlaq and the etiquettes and the characteristics that we need to develop are embedded within the ahkam as well. For example, right, you open up, let's say for example, the book of Fatawa of Sayyid Sistani. Right? Open up Minhaj al-Salihin, right? The Arabic book where he writes a lot of his ahkam. Go to the section on Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar. At the end of the section, he talks about various sins, the most important sins, right? Most important sins that you should do nahi from. Right? If you were to just imagine what is the most important sins, most of us would probably not get the right ones. Number one on this list is shirk. Number two is ya'as an rawhillah, being sort of despondent and despairing of God's mercy. Hasad, jealousy and enviousness. These are the things that he lists as the most important sins. Su'a dhann billah, having a bad sort of opinion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The most important sins, if you went on that list, almost all of them, if not all of them that he lists, have to do with internal actions, not external ones. It shows something. Ahkam is more than just the physical actions that we're doing. There's guidelines that guide how I think. There's guidelines for how I talk, for how I decide things, for how I look at reality. Ahkam is much more than what we think. But at the end of the day, that is spirituality. That is how I can attain proximity with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no other shortcut. People search, sometimes we like this, that we want this sort of special a'mal that this one arif did and it changed his life, and all the doors of ma'rifah opened to this arif, and all of a sudden he had a whole Quran downloaded into his heart. Sometimes we like this, that we want those shortcuts. And there might be special a'mal, and there are of course special a'mal. You look on Laylatul Qadr, there are special a'mal, and we should pay attention to those things. But that's not in isolation to my regular duties and obligations. I still have to do those things. Those are the primary things. That's the cherry on top. One doesn't substitute the other. I cannot say that, okay, I'll do my things on Laylatul Qadr and I won't wake up for Fajr. That's nonsense. More egregious examples that we can think of, right? Think of what happens during Ayam Azah, right? When we're mourning for Sayyid al-Shuhada. Unfortunately, we see how many times ahkam becomes ignored during those times. What's in our minds? Are we trying to achieve something that's not the path of Ahlul Bayt? I mean, if Imam Hussein on the middle of the plains of Karbala has so much importance to prayer that he's willing to pray while arrows are showering down on him, then why do I have an excuse of praying when everything is easy for me? When all it takes is a few minutes of my time, right? To just stop what I'm doing, pray, and then continue. Why can't I do that? What gives me the right to say that, okay, I'm just going to cry for Imam Hussein and that will be enough? What kind of tear is that? The tears for Imam Hussein that are not linked to the path of Imam Hussein, they're useless. Want an example of this? There's clear examples. Umar ibn Sa'ad, according to many narrations, was crying about what was happening to Imam Hussein as he was being made shaheed in front of him. If crying for Imam Hussein guaranteed Jannah, then we would have to say that Umar ibn Sa'ad is also going to Jannah. We have to put things into perspective. I don't know how much time I have left, but I don't think it's much. It's very difficult to see that clock over there. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajjal. If you look at this idea of spirituality, if we want to put it in a nutshell, what exactly it is, what exactly we're trying to seek, then ultimately it boils down to this, that I want my will to be exactly in line with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's will, such that if He tells me to go right, I go right, go left, I go left, stand up, I stand up, sit, I sit. No hesitation, no barrier, nothing stopping me from doing exactly as He commands me. As if His will was my will. That's spirituality. Which means that I have to know what He wants from me in the first place. One of the things that we see mentioned about Laylatul Qadr, if you look is narrated from Shaykh Saduq in Amali, in his book of Al-Amani, where he says that there's a consensus amongst the Imami sect, amongst the scholars of Imami, that the best of actions on Laylatul Qadr is talabul ilm, the seeking of knowledge. Best of actions. Doesn't mean that we don't do dua. Doesn't mean that we don't, pray and do all the things that are good. It's there, all those things are there. But put things in balance, priorities. Talabul ilm is also, if we had time, we talk about more in detail. Seeking knowledge doesn't mean seeking information. It's not like who can quote the most hadith references, who can quote the most even ayat of the Quran. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about true knowledge. True knowledge is something transformative. It's not just a collection. It's not like a sort of reference book. It's something that changes me. It changes who I am. That kind of knowledge. Sometimes the purest form where we can find that knowledge are within the dua themselves. How we treat dua is sometimes shameful. The dua that we have are encyclopedias of knowledge. Sahifa Sajjadiyah is an encyclopedia of the ma'arif of Islam. We're constantly asking, how do I talk to Allah? How do I deal with these difficulties? How do I do this? What does God want me from there? The answers are all there. What that means is that if I want to actually accomplish something on Laylatul Qadr through our dua, I have to know what I'm saying. And not know what I'm saying as I'm reading it when it comes on the slides on the screen. Even though that's not bad, it's better than nothing. But that's actually doing the opposite side of things. If you think about it, dua, the expression of words, is supposed to be a reflection of what's inside. I'm supposed to be feeling a certain way and then I'm expressing it. I'm supposed to be thinking a certain way and then I'm expressing my thoughts. Not that I say things, then look at what it means and then try to think about what it means. That's a job that we have to do before we recite the dua, not while we recite the dua. Before we recite the dua, that's what we do. We look at the dua, we analyze it, we think about it, we contemplate it, we ponder it, and then we should recite it. Otherwise, I'm not actually doing dua. I'm reading Arabic words, but I'm not calling out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? If I don't even know what I'm saying, how could I be calling out to Him? It doesn't make sense. And I'm not saying that we have to have the most extensive knowledge of Arabic or most extensive knowledge of things. No, even just the translation. Even just the translation is enough as a starting point. Yes, for sure, the more you know of Arabic, the more your depth of understanding will be. That's for sure there. But it's not a limiting factor. Even the translation, alhamdulillah, so many translations are available nowadays. The time that we live in, we're afforded that opportunity where it's easy to find translations in various languages. Easily accessible. What's my excuse? Dua Iftitah I've been reciting day after day after day. How many times did I actually stop and think? فَلَمْ أَرَ مَوْلًا كَرِيمًا أَصْبَرَ عَلَى عَبْدِ اللَّهِ مِنْكَ عَلَيَّ. I've never seen a more patient, generous Lord with a disobedient servant than you are with me. How many times have I said that and actually say it from the heart? I'm talking to my Lord. It's me with my Lord. There's no one else. إِنَّكَ تَدْعُونِي فَأُوَلِّي عَنْكَ. You're calling to me and I turn away from you. How many times have we actually felt what we're actually saying? If we want to take advantage of Laylatul Qadr, that's what we have to do. Take the time and opportunity of this day that's before you. One day that's before you. Say, okay, I can look at a few things, few lines. Don't have to do quantity. Quantity doesn't matter on its own. The quality of it. Few lines of a dua. Contemplate it. Make it real to you. Make it that you are saying it to your Lord. Not that someone else has said it historically, some imam had said it and you're just repeating their words. That has no benefit. You are saying it. It's reflecting of your thoughts, my thoughts in front of my Lord. I'm speaking and He's listening, and He's promised to answer me. He's commanded me to do dua, and He's guaranteed the answer. I'm saying it from that perspective. On top of that, He's guaranteed and said that, look, when you call out to me, the Imams have told us, when you call out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then perceive that the answer to your dua is at the door. There's no delay. Yes, even in dua iftitah, there's a understanding of this though. لَعَلَّ طَاعَنِّي هُوَ خَيْرٌ لِي لِعِلْمِكَ بِعَاقِبَةِ الْأُمُورِ. Perhaps you delayed giving me what I wanted because you know what's best for me. And so you gave what's better for me. We have to understand that as well. For sure that's there. But that's the perspective. If we don't do these things, we'll find our religion slowly dying away, where it becomes more and more just this form and facade, where people recognize us just because they see us bowing and going up and saying these random things. Islam is who we are, not a clothing that we wear that can be taken off and another could be put on. It's who we are. Meaning everything about me is defined by my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I know that my time is probably up, but I'll mention this last point. If we don't start with our relationship between myself and my Lord and acknowledge the reality of it, acknowledge that everything I have, everything I am is under the sovereignty and dominion of my Lord, then everything that we build on top of that will be false as well. Ayah in the Quran, لا تكونوا كالذين نسوا الله فأنساهم أنفسهم. Don't be like the ones who forgot Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and so He made them forget themselves. If we ignore the reality of who we are, then we're living a lie. Whatever we build on top of that, no matter how successful it might seem to ourselves, is a lie. It's only when we base our actions and our strivings on the reality, that base core reality, that I am a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that anything can be attained in the first place. Anything that's contrary to that is useless. More than useless, it's a chain that pulls me down. Look at our dua and you see that reality again and again. We're the beggars before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's door. And we never leave. Because if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rejects us, we have nowhere to go. There is no alternative. There is nowhere else. If you have time, the words that I'm saying are not my words. I'm paraphrasing words of dua. If we had time, we'd go through each one of these words and show this. It's something beautiful. All of these words, the Imam themselves are saying it. He's the one who taught us. How much of perspective, golden, absolute treasure we have within these dua. It just requires us to pay attention. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the tawfiq on these nights to be in His service. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the tawfiq of obeying Him in all aspects of our life. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that on these nights we don't forget the rights of each other. This is something important. The rights of each other that we have, the rights of the mu'mineen on each other is so high. So high. Unimaginably high. I can't ignore the rights of my brothers and sisters. I can't say that, okay, this person has a right over me, but I'm too busy doing dua. It's not how that works. It's not that kind of dua is not mustajab. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on these nights that we pray for the mustada'afeen, the downtrodden, the ones who are suffering, the ones in Gaza and Palestine, the ones who are suffering. We're in so much ease over here. So much ease. Our du'as, it's in a time of ease. There's not everyone who's afforded that chance. We ask Allah to give them a swift relief and swift victory in this life and the next. ببركة الصلوات على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.